Hello everyone, DonTheCrown, and today I want to talk about the Bing 2 Creative Genius campaign leveling guide, and I am super excited to share this with you. This is the character that I'm planning to play, so if you want to come see me, doing it and playing it, I can just click on the stream here. This will obviously, there's a written guide which I'll put in the description down below. You can follow along. You'll have a very smooth leveling time. I did test leveling with a whole bunch of different spell selections, from Chain Lightning to Ring of Ice to a whole ton of different things, and Fireburst hands down was just the best option, I think, for Bing 2. And the reason just being because it does good single target damage, and it also just clears out an entire circle of enemies inside the fire ring. It just feels really smooth. We're also going to basically walk out of the campaign with a full set of legendaries, between Brainwave Emitter giving us more spell burst, basically having Born in Fire giving us tons of life and survivability and fire damage. Scorching Tempo is a new staff that gives us a ton of fire damage bonuses. Genius Battle Gear giving us crit stuff. It's just super duper smooth. Our final setup is going to look like this, with Fire Burst, increased AoE, Elemental Fusion, Control Spell, and Psychic Burst. And yes, I know that at level 1, we've seen that they're probably giving you added fire for Fire Burst. I highly recommend using Increased Area instead. They're about the same damage, very stinking close. But if you're using Increased Area, it's a lot easier to hit big groups of blue monsters and just knock everything down. It's just a little bit smoother in my opinion. If you want to use added fire though, knock yourself out. Now, Fireburst, I've talked about why I think it is pretty good. Do more single target damage. It's good single target, good AoE. The damage was buffed by 22% in this patch, which is a pretty big deal because the spell burst, just kind of knocks out all that stuff. It does have a slower cast speed than it did in the past, but we don't really care about that because we're bursting it anyways. Born in Fire and Scorching Words maces are some really good things for us to pick up. You don't necessarily need to use this in the campaign, but these will really, if you get these at all, are pretty stinking crazy as a treasure trove drop. We are going to be using the double movement speed tech here. Basically, the way this works is when you teleport with one movement skill, if you only have one, and you use both of your charges of that, you have to wait for both to recharge. But if you have two skills and you only use one charge from each, you get two to recharge at the same time. If you ever exhaust your final charge on either skill, it will put both skills on cooldown, so do not do that. And yeah, I'll show you guys some gameplay of this, but obviously I don't have a Bing 2 that I can show you right now. Spell Burst is basically a mechanic that allows us to unleash multiple spells. So you cast one Fire Burst. If you have your two Spell Burst, two more Fire Bursts are going to proc out. And this is really important because they will also auto target enemies. So you basically can't miss with your Spell Burst, which is very nice. And it will, if it kills something, it'll go target something else instead with the next Spell Burst. It's just very smooth. Our hero trait is basically having this little meter here. On the left-hand side, we're going to build up our whimsy meter. And once this gets filled, both of these have a cap of 100. This gets filled every 5 seconds or so, baseline. And doing spell damage will cause you to throw a little grenade that causes enemies to take more spell damage. It'll also give you 25% of the red meter. And once the red meter is full, you can press the F button and it will basically instantaneously refill your spell burst and make it so your next cast has 200% more spell burst. So if you have 6 spell burst, now you're going up to 18. And it allows you to cast a lot of spells. We get to see in the Korean preview that they basically walked up to one of the end bosses of the campaign, hit the, cast their thing, then hit their ult, casted a second Fire Burst, and just unleashed, hell basically on the boss, and just blew it up, which looked really stinking cool. Looking forward to that. More information about the trait in here as well. And the weird thing too is that Bing 2 gets basically double the traits compared to every other class. So when we unlock our next trait setup, you're going to pick both the left and the right options. You don't have to pick between them, which is very nice. And many of these traits have 2 options inside of them. You have to pick between them. So we're going to get the left side one for free basically. And then up here, we get some movement speed, which is just really stinking nice. I put a whole bunch of information in here in the written guide if you want to read through it, but that's pretty much what you need to know. The cool thing about this trait here that we get once we're 45 is that it pretty much makes it so your red side ultimate meter is basically ready to go whenever you go into a new zone or you revive, and that allows you to pop your ultimate basically on the first elite you see, and this gives you movement speed, a lot of movement speed whenever you pop your ultimate for a short period of time. So it just feels really, really nice. You're just going to be blowing up enemies a whole bunch, and as you're like running through zones, making sure that you're dropping fire bursts on enemies so that the blue side meter pops off, because it only triggers when you deal spell damage, and then you can like pop your big ult on packs of elites or monsters and stuff, and everything will just like vanish in flames. I'm not going to go through all of everything here, but we'll talk real quick about the passive trees. So we're going Goddess of Knowledge. This is kind of like a no-brainer here. We get the main talent Beacon. This gives us our +2 spell burst, which is going to put us at 3 spell bursts, 2 + 1 from our trait. And we're also getting Insight, which gives us additional or like more damage. But it also increases our mana costs. But because of the way that this game works, that mana cost increase is like not even noticeable, so this is not a big deal. Our second tree is Magister, and it's going to give us the play safe main talent, which allows us to turn our spell casting speed into spell burst charge speed, so we can get our charges back, so we can be basically echoing out more spells more frequently, and this is just a really nice tree to go. Thirdly, we're going to go Warlord. This gives us a whole bunch of fire stuff, gives us fueling, which lets us basically turn enemy fire resist to 0. And we probably will eventually go for True Flame, but that's probably after the campaign. And it's super unlikely that you'll actually get to the 4th tree during the campaign unless you're like super overkilling, but you would go for Lich and then off the beaten track. The season mechanic, we don't really know how this is going to work just yet, but the Overrealm mechanic, you're going to bump into these portals here, and when you do, you're probably going to interact with it. A whole bunch of enemies will pop out, and it's either going to be like a stream of enemies, or it's going to be like an absolute clown car of enemies just popping out all at once. And so you want to be very careful with this, because it could potentially be very deadly. We don't really know if this is going to be very good for XP or for like weapons or anything right now, but you know, maybe interact with the first couple of ones and see if you get some good rewards. I typically always I'm like, hey, remember to add rewards to these, because I like having the campaign thing be good. But also, when you clear all the monsters, this little gateway will either disappear or it will like open up and allow you to interact with it. And that lets you go over into the Overrealm, which is like a secondary version of the world basically. And maybe there'll be good rewards, maybe there'll be good experience there, maybe it'll be incredibly difficult, who knows. I would say maybe interact with the first one you get and see if it's amazing, and if it is, great. But we get a lot of good legendaries already from our treasure troves, so we probably don't really need to farm that for gear, but you never know what we can find in there. Now for the step-by-step leveling, I pretty much have all of the stuff in here, all of the different things you're looking for the troves, all of the different like supports and stuff you want to equip. Just kind of talking about that. We did mention Scorching Words before. I think that if you like get to the point of the treasure trove where this drops, which is the 4th one, which is like the end of Act 2, if you're like struggling for damage or having some sort of issues, farming up 2 of these is pretty much going to carry you all the way until the end of the campaign when you pick up the Scorching Tempo. But you know, that is, you know, your prerogative there. I don't necessarily feel like you need this per se. Also, I want to point out that when you kill the Lion King, you get this little hero memory thing. If you're not level 45, you can't equip it just yet. So just want to be very careful that you don't dismantle this, because you're not really going to get another one in the campaign. It would be kind of a pain in the butt to not get. So you can just click on it and then lock the item, and you can't dismantle it anymore. And the exact same thing holds true once you beat the final boss. It always drops a hero memory as well, and you want to like open up your inventory and lock it immediately, because so many people tell me every single season that they accidentally scrapped their hero memory, and you don't want to be one of those people. For the next 2 hero traits, you're just going to pick the ones that I wrote over here, and you can add Psychic Burst at the end of the campaign to your main skill. Hopefully this video helped you out. I'm very excited to be playing Bing 2. I think it's going to be very fun, very interesting. Spell Burst has always been very, very strong like meta build, and adding a like character that like leans into that is going to be pretty cool. and I'm just be blasting probably like 20-hour league start type of thing. I'm going to try to be like one of the first people to clear the Traveler 7. I think there's probably gonna be a Traveler 7 event on NA. I know NA is, you know, a little bit easier than the other regions, but it's kind of like always my goal. So we'll see how that goes. Come by, cheer me on, and just hang out. And yeah, hope you guys have a great one. We'll see you again soon.